All right, we are here with the Paxos Labs team. It's been an amazing, really week for them so far. There's been so much to talk about. V1, V2, introducing Paxos Labs. There's a lot to talk about in the next 15, 20 minutes. How are you guys doing? Big week.
Whew, it's been fun. It's been fun. Doing well. Love to see the energy from the community. It's been amazing to get kind of some of the things that Paxos and Paxos Labs can do out in the open. And so it's been a lot of fun, a lot of engagement. But as we were talking about, be getting a little more sleep.
Yeah, Ronak said he has 2 kids. He's used to not getting sleep. But do you have any kids or anything like
No
that?
kids for me yet. So I'm kind of like, I'm still enjoying my sleep these days. But I've been working with Ronak since he had both of his kids, and so I've kind of seen what's coming through
It's good
through
training.
Ronak's life. Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys.
Bo's ready to give birth to USDH. So
Yeah.
we'll make that the first.
That will be my first baby. There you
That'll
go,
cause more
USDH.
sleepless nights than any kids that I have. So it'll be fun.
Let's start with each of your intros. I know you guys work very closely together, but cover different parts of the business in terms of, specifically Paxos does so many things. It probably is best to start there, maybe with Ronak, you, and just like positioning us within the Paxos ecosystem, and then we can move into specifics with the V2 if that works.
That sounds great. Happy to kick it off. So this is a blockchain infrastructure provider. We partner with businesses to enable them to bring their blockchain-enabled offerings to the market. That includes stablecoin issuance, tokenization capabilities, crypto brokerage as an infrastructure, stablecoin payments and orchestration as an infrastructure, and a bunch of other things that I won't get into. And most recently, we spun out labs with a focus on building more DeFi capabilities and DeFi integrations and helping more of the enterprises and consumers to be able to get access to more on-chain products. And so that's how we've sort of set ourselves up. I lead all things on the Paxos side of things. Bhau is a core part of our product team and is now sort of leading labs holistically.
Bo, how did Labs come to be? What was the journey of, we were saying before, this is sort of like a big moment for the world to begin to learn what Paxos Labs does and your role within it. Would love to take this time just to get a bit of the story and the background before we dive into this week specifically.
Definitely. And so, as Ronak mentioned, Paxos does a lot of different things. I joined Paxos at the end of 2021 and got to see a bunch of different product launches. We, as part of the PYUSD launch, worked on USDL, which was a yield-bearing stablecoin, helped launch USDG. So saw all these stablecoin launches. We also saw customers launching with our crypto brokerage infrastructure. And one of the things that Ronak and Chad, who's our CEO, and we kind of like sat down and started talking about over the last year was there's this journey that we're seeing all these enterprises go on, right? Maybe they start with stable coins, or maybe they start with crypto trading. Maybe then they do some stablecoin payments use cases. But what we kind of saw coming was like connectivity to on-chain ecosystems, whether that's Hyperliquid or Aave or all these other partners we're talking to, that was coming. And there wasn't really a trusted solution for the PayPals of the world to connect into that kind of on-chain layer, right? And the way we saw it was, one, there was very clear demand. These enterprises were asking about it, and it fit seamlessly into our product suite. But what we were thinking about was we did need to kind of build this as its own team with its own core competency of building on chain, and a team that can be focused on that. And so we spun out Paxos Labs. We started thinking about how to build out that team, and I got a chance to meet a team based out of here in Brooklyn who's been building on Hyperliquid since day one of Hyper EVM, and that's Molecular Labs, and they're actually the infrastructure that powers L-HYPE, which is a loop type token, and WHLP. And so there was just immediate synergies, how they thought about distributing growing assets in on-chain markets, but also how native they were to building on in really important on-chain ecosystems, and in this case, obviously Hyperliquid, and that's what got us really excited about them, and we decided to join forces, and that's where we think we put a really strong foot forward for USDH. We bring all the experience of Paxos with some of the native building experience in Hyperliquid.
And you met that team, the Molecular Labs team. When was this? This wasn't just because of this frenzy.
No.
Was something that I think this is important to dive into a little bit.
I first started spending time with them, I want to say in February or March of this year. We have been talking about, we actually spun out Paxos Labs, I want to say at the end of last year. And so we had been talking to people in the market, we've been hiring. And in March of this year, I want to say I got a chance to meet the founders of Molecular Labs. And what I actually did was I went and, our office is here in Flatiron, and I went and parked myself in their office for like 2 months to really get to know them, really get into, and thankfully they tolerated me for that long, and really spend some time with them, and got to know the team, got to know their product, and, was frankly blown away. And I came back to Chad and Ronak and was like, I think we should bring these guys on. And thankfully they were up for it. And, we've been moving on that ever since.
It's amazing. Okay. So bring us into this week. You have this team, you've essentially acquired this group of incredible builders, this Hyperliquid native infrastructure and team that was already, before the craze of this week, convicted about this community. I just think that deserves to be said. Tell us about you have USDL, this yield bearing stablecoin that's global, USDG, which we've really enjoyed covering in the latest season of the podcast. I have to plug that. Go listen to Stable Minded with the USDG season. We've been meeting with some incredible builders on that platform: OKX, Kraken, Sling, Solana. It's been really fun. And of course, Ronak was on that. So you guys you've been building these stable coins, you've been architecting them alongside enterprises, and now this is essentially becoming a core. I think the term Paxos Labs is a perfect way to even call this. Is like, this is a part of Paxos that is a place that enterprises can come, or on-chain partners can come to go architect and build and scale really dynamic stablecoin businesses. Bring us into USDH, and specifically, I think a lot of people who are following this have had a chance to dive into the V1 proposal. And I'd really love to maybe contrast the V1 proposal with this V2 update today that you guys have released, or last night that you released. I was driving home and got a telegram at like 10 p.m. It was like, oh shit, did you see the news? And I was like, dude, I'm just trying to go to sleep soon. But our team has been following this really closely. Give us the before and after of what the V2 does.
One thing to sort of just jump in is that this is the moment like Labs was created for, and so I think the time between how we are all here because we strongly believe that the TradFi and DeFi world is going to merge in ways that we are just starting to see, and Paxos Labs was created for this reason. And so like when the proposal and the RFP dropped on Thursday, this was like already something we were thinking about, and so the speed and ability to move and bring both our sort of enterprise backing, issuance platform, and sort of hyper native know-how was really like easy for us to do. So that was V1, and then there's been a lot that went into V2, which I'm sure Bo will cover.
Yeah, totally. And I'll even share the little story of going into V1. I believe it was Wednesday night or Thursday night. We actually bought a stablecoin ticker on Hyperliquid. So the team, actually the Paxos Labs team, we were doing our first offsite with like the entire team in one place. We're kind of, like mostly in New York, but distributed. We were all down in Mexico. We were all staying together,
trying to relax a little bit,
yeah, exactly. And we were like essentially already planning, as Ronak mentioned, like what's going to be our big moment where we really come out to the world. And we've been thinking about what we're going to build in Hyperliquid for months now. And so we actually bought a ticker a night before the USDH proposal came out. And I was joking elsewhere. I was like, I could have saved us some money if the proposal came out a day before. But regardless, the proposal came out, and team went all hands on deck to get a proposal ready, and within 24 hours of it dropping. And so super proud of that. But one of the biggest benefits of moving so quickly there was we were able to kind of like be in market with our proposal for multiple days and really engage with the community and understand what was important to them, right? We had a good idea of it, but really hearing it directly from them in Discord, on Twitter, in Twitter Spaces, really helped us understand like what were the things that really mattered to the community. And first was some of the things around how are we thinking about contributing to the assistance fund, right? And we had always planned to do that, but our V1 proposal didn't fully outline exactly how we were going to use USDH revenues to go back to the assistance fund. And so we made that clear in our second proposal, right? We have a scaling proposal of what's going to go to the assistance fund as USDH scales. We do think it's really important to keep some of those revenues aside in the early days to go back into the growth of USDH. And so we shared some updated economics there. But the second piece, the thing that we had thought a lot about around Paxos and USDH and Hyperliquid was around what is the really unique thing that we bring beyond kind of like having experience building in Hyperliquid, beyond having kind of the Paxos experience. It was really like our distribution capabilities. We can, our belief was like, we're going to be able to bring Hyperliquid, the Hyperliquid ecosystem, the Hype token, USDH to a massive distribution, massive set of distribution channels. And so what we spent the last 2-3 days doing was talking to all our partners, right, and getting commitments. And we got that in a big way from PayPal. And I think that's the big thing in V2, where we got them to agree to listing Hype, doing USDH on and off ramps, investing $20 million into ecosystem incentives. And this is big kudos to PayPal for seeing the vision here and going big. And I think our position is like, look, we did this in 2 days. Our enterprise distribution network is massive, and we can bring Hyperliquid to so much of the world. See what we can do in 2 weeks. See what we can do in 2 months, and we can make this huge. And I think that's the unique thing that we bring to the table, where this isn't just about replacing USDC and Hyperliquid. It's doing that and more, right? And that's kind of been our pitch. It's like, hey, we think this is like a $50 billion asset, $500 billion asset that we're going to go scale to many, many platforms and many, many distribution centers, and not just kind of like be the USDC replacement.
Like any things to add on this V2 and feedback from the community, enterprise chats?
I think it's you've seen everyone come to the table to show what they can do, and I think you get different versions of the 3 core pieces that in my mind are important. One is regulated issuance and how you do issuance and do it well. 2 is how do you provide connectivity into the enterprise and TradFi world, and then 3, the most important one, which is how do you understand the Hyperliquid community, and will you drive and build products that further that ecosystem and enable innovation on top of USDH? And I think everyone's brought different parts of that stack to the table. I think some have only done 1, some have only done 2. But I think what was important to us is how do we show and showcase all 3 of those capabilities in V2 of the proposal. And so what you'll see, the difference between V1 and V2 is like our issuance was always there. The Hyperliquid know-how was there, but showing the nuances of understanding what it takes to not only issue, but actually grow a stablecoin in that ecosystem in a way that leverages the Hyperliquid community and our distribution partners is what V2 is about. And as Bhau said, I think we're pleased about where it ended up, but this is based on 24 hours of making phone calls, and the team knows about things. So I'm confident that if we win this, we'll be able to bring a lot more to the table.
How many companies can go get something like this done with a company as esteemed? And you have to have top-down buy-in to get a company like PayPal to do something like this so quickly. And it's really interesting for them too, because they have native stable coins that they've issued with you all in partnership, and there's actually really strategic for them to even consider doing this and believe that this is a smart thing to do alongside their own native stablecoin. Bo, 2 questions for you. Just one, you mentioned and I'm showing here just, our, I have to plug this, you know what I'm saying? The
Love it.
USDH proposal tracker. Zach stayed up super late last night just putting this together, so I had to plug it.
Awesome.
We're following all of the protocols here, the proposals here rather, what makes them unique, what makes them different, and specifically kind of putting this stuff together is really key for us. So anyway, go check that out. But Bo, for you, I wanted to dive more into 2 things quickly. One, the alignment and the feedback from Hyperliquid. I think the community reception that you mentioned. It's like you've been really plugged in there. You really have felt that and you seem to be doing a really good job of taking their feedback into consideration. What was that feedback specifically, or what were some things that you felt like were really clear based on that engagement? I think from what I can tell, the Hyperliquid community is super unique in terms of what they care about and who they are. Bring us into that a little bit. And then also maybe Ronak, if it would make sense, the second part would be the enterprise, like going around to the enterprises and talking to them, like what their feedback was on this idea too, sort of a two-part question.
Sure. Yeah. So I think we got feedback from a few different places from the community. One, as I mentioned, was like, hey, how are you thinking about driving revenues back to the assistance fund, because that helps, drive value for all hype holders. And so we, obviously, again, always plan to do that, but we made it more explicit in V2. I think the second thing that, people were asking about was like, well, is Paxos going to be a hype holder? Or is Paxos going to have actually kind of like skin in the game from that perspective? And so that is something we went and clarified. Not only do we like plan to obtain hype, but we will actually put all of our revenues that are coming to Paxos in the hype token. And so I think that piece, those pieces we always intended to do them. We just tried to make them more clear in V2. And I think the second piece of feedback we were getting was like, hey, like we see that you guys have all these enterprise partnerships. Like, can you actually get them to plug into Hyperliquid? Like, and it kind of felt like a pipe dream. And so really, like, we spent a couple of days just being like, well, there's no better way to convince them than to prove it, right? Let's go bring the biggest one. Let's go bring PayPal, right? And so I hope that was like a little bit of like a prove it moment, right? I totally get it. Like, it's easy to name drop. Everyone name drops. Everyone says we've got this partner and this partner, and we work with so and so and so and so. And it's very easy to make hollow commitments. And again, kudos to PayPal for coming in and making a real commitment to the ecosystem. And our hope was like that proves like how committed we are and the pull that we do have to bring enterprises to Hyperliquid. And so, those were two of the areas of feedback we got. Ronak, I don't know if there's anything else you'd add.
No, I think, I generally find it like hard to just start name dropping people into like proposals and calling it whatever, unless there's an actual partnership or something we're doing. But I think it's important to showcase to the community that this is something we've been doing for years. We built products for, the PayPals, the MasterCards, the Stripes of the world. And we are partnered with every single player that is out there. And if we're not, we'll go make it happen, and we can do that in short order. And so I think I think the important piece in my mind is to demonstrate those capabilities. I don't think we can get exhaustive. I don't think anyone has the time or space to like validate that. So I think, as Bo said, we want to make sure that the nuances of all of these are understood, which is again hard when you're like in a public war of sorts and trying to like do your best to like outdo each other. I think we really want to focus on the substance, which is that let the track record speak for itself, both on issuance, which I don't think there's any question. We've issued over $160 billion of assets and managed it for the largest enterprises in the world. We have connectivity across the ecosystem, which again, we were able to show through this. And we have deep Hyperliquid integration and know-how through the nucleus and molecular team that we brought on.
What would be the, as we close out here, the thing that you would leave the Hyperliquid community with as they approach making a decision or approach making a vote here? What would be specifically like for each of you, maybe a misconception or a narrative or something that you think might be like floating around, or something that you would want to squash just given the opportunity? Like, hey, this is not the case, and here's the truth about Paxos Labs and what you guys are doing. And just, a final word to that community who's making a pretty big decision here in the near future.
Yeah, I can go first. I think the big thing is, people see the Paxos brand and maybe have preconceptions of what it is. And, one of the pieces of feedback is like, well, is Paxos really Hyperliquid first and Hyperliquid aligned? And, the thing I would just point to is like, again, the team that we're working with here and the team that would be working on USDH and making it successful has been building in Hyperliquid for a couple years now. We have live products on Hyperliquid today with about $60 million of TPL. Right. Like this is not like, we're kind of just here for fun. Like we've been building or investing in those products further. And so I think that's something I would just like reiterate is like, we have been building in Hyperliquid. We're going to continue building in Hyperliquid regardless of this outcome. That's one thing. The second thing I would just highlight is like, I think there's been a lot thrown around compliance and Genius compliance and regulatory, and it's very squishy and it's like all new and it's hard for people to really understand. I would just really encourage the community to do their research there. And I'm not saying this to like put down others, but Paxos really is the only company that has the licenses to do this globally, has state level charters in the US, has approvals to issue stablecoins in the EU. And there's no other provider that can do that. And if the goal is for Hyperliquid to be global, you need a global issuer. Right. And so I would just, really implore the community to make sure they fully understand the implications of selecting an issuer that maybe doesn't have some of those regulatory approvals.
Boom. Ronak, what about you, man?
I think it's awesome to see like innovation and competition and in the market, and I welcome it. I think it's great to like have everyone sort of show their cards, which is I think generally good for everyone that is thinking about it.
It makes this job fun. I think my job is fun this week.
I think the piece that I'll say is that as we've seen, this is obviously like a hot space, and so there's going to be a bunch of new entrants, and that's great because it pushes the customers to benefit and pushes the industry forward and all makes all of us better, which is great. But I think it's important, again, as I said, to realize who's done this before and who can move fast and who can actually deliver on some of these promises versus a bunch of net new entrants who are just throwing their hat in the ring. And then I think there's a lot being said about like neutral, credible players. And I think those are two important words, but when put together, they mean something. And so to us, a large part of our offering has been that we don't have consumer products. We don't have our own chain. We're not trying to compete. We're an infrastructure provider for PayPal, for the global dollar network, for a bunch of large players who like IBKR and PayPal and others who leverage us for infrastructure. We're an infrastructure provider who can move with speed. So we're the combination of like the track record plus the credible neutrality and the fact that we're not like trying to win end consumers and create additional assets or do other things. It should be important to the community. And then I think we clearly have a better job to do on explaining some of the work that we've done in the Hyperliquid community. So appreciate the time today. But I think as Bo touched on it, those are the two big like misconceptions. And so I'd encourage everyone to like take some more time to dig into the credible neutrality and dig into the Molecular Labs team and their track record in the Hype ecosystem.
Yeah, I think the fact that you bought a ticker and a company in the space days leading up to this, I think proves a lot of things for you guys and your conviction around this. So thank you for taking the time. We'll be closely tracking this. Please keep us in the loop if there's anything we need to know or share. And ultimately, thank you for the work. I think this is a forcing function for everyone. And this is one of many, many opportunities like this in the coming years that we'll be able to see and work on. And I'm here for the long term. I know you guys are too. So just appreciate the work you're doing.
Thanks for having us on,
Thanks
Drew.
for having us.